fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
About a stone's throw away from this place is something known as a test track. On that test track, you can see it from the train as you run around over towards London Paddington, not a million miles away. This, a place here in the middle of England, is one of the true circuits out there all the way back since 1950 as the inaugural race of the Formula One calendar. This, the inaugural race of a very, very special new car in iRacing. This, the iRacing Grand Prix Series from Silverstone, and it's here live with SimSpeed TV for the dawn of a brand new season. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world as the Arena Grand Prix circuit, 18 turns and 5.89 kilometers, brings you all of the action needed today for 29 laps worth of racing. I'm Jake Sperry, Jake Kennedy, along with us for the ride here as we start to gear up and get those inaugural times in on the board. But the key here to today is its drivers past, present and future all looking to try and stamp their name down with authority here, Jay. This is the one time where you truly don't know where the form book is and where talent will probably achieve overall.
Hello everyone. Yeah, it's exciting to have an all-new car, and what a car it is. One of the most dominant teams in any era of real-world Formula One. To have it in iRacing while it's still racing, I mean, it was just finished, but it was released while it was still racing, is pretty incredible. Of course, we're talking about the Mercedes W12. It's going to be very, very cool. As you said, new names to the series, old names returning, a real mix of the new and old coming together. It's going to be very, very fun. Looking forward to this series. It's going to be a great one once again.
It absolutely is. You can see so many opportunities. Of course, that fabled Copse Corner where Verstappen and Hamilton came together this season. That run, of course, all the way down the Hangar Straight towards Stowe Corner, and then the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight on the front leading to Abbey and over into the Village and Arena section 3, 4 and 5 out there on track. It's going to be an interesting battle here today, and what is going to be so very, very crucial to keep in mind and understand is actually how long a race like today is going to be, Jay. It's 29 laps, as we've said just a little bit earlier on, but 29 laps is the sort of range where it is effectively start on the medium compound tyre, take it as far as you possibly can through the race and get yourself home. We're not expecting to see anyone try and make a stop, go soft. This is flat out.
Yeah, the only guys that might do a soft are the guys that really want to try and get a good qualifying in and start on those soft tyres. That's the only way you would see anyone out there on the softs. But in saying that, I haven't really seen anyone out there in practice at the moment on the soft tyre. So this is going to be interesting to see whether we do actually look that with Guerrero. He's actually out there on the hard tyre. So he's decided that that's the best option for him. So it'd be interesting to see who does what tyre-wise, but as you said, it's more likely that everyone's going to run the medium and then go from there.
Absolutely, and this should be a very interesting scrap out there at this point in time. Currently, It's the boy from Indiana who has got himself up on top at the moment. Number 1, Ben Fuller, as we watch Guerrero here moving through the maggot section, through this sweeping left into the right of Beckett's and the left of Chapel that leads onto the Hangar Straight here on this former World War II track, which really did make a lot of influence in terms of the way that the Second World War went about, and certainly is proving an influence here on the circuit, on the brakes, in towards the Vale and Club corners respectively. Always difficult to know when to put the power on going through Club, and over the line will go Guerrero for a 25.8, good enough for 22nd position out there on track then overall. A handful of drivers then getting those final few seconds ticking away, and we're going to be taking ourselves then already over to the starting grid then for this one, because all 8 minutes are up on the clock. And let's get a little look then on how everyone stacks up then here today. So car number 1 gets pole position, a 124.531. That is Ben Fuller, who will take the pole position outright ahead of Chabi Rose in second position. And it'll be Marcos Nunez who lines up third with Kane Halliburton in position number 4. Jarl Tyen will go from 5th with Tom Volstra in 6th position. And one of the 2 Sanfilippo brothers, Marco, going off from 7th position, and Alexia Lomar in 8th place. It'll be Adam Gleeson who will start 9th, and Matthias Ottarola who will round out the top 10 for us here today. And that will soon be following here at this fabled Silverstone circuit. They can see the top 6 there up on your screen right now. You can see Radecki Grzegorz out there in 11th, and Nathan Moore, the number 6, is in 12th. That follows Danilo Sanfilippo and Jorge Martinez, who are 13th and 14th respectively, with Diogo Oliveira lining up in 15th place alongside Luke Dowding. That follows Reynaldo Augusto and Mitchell Ian Green. A lot of the regulars we saw up at the front in the McLaren MP430 era, way down the field. Alessandro Dalladonna is going to be in 19th, and it's Dennis Branch rounding out the top 20. That follows Cedric Beale and Fernando Guerrero, with Christoph Montz and John Pat Kelly on row number 12. And the 2 drivers who did not set a time is the 8 machine of Tamash Shimon, whose iRating is higher than the Japanese driver of Yuki Shirakawa, who will go from P26 on what is promising to be a very, very entertaining race. Shortest run towards turn number 1. That's the distance, 133 kilometers. So they've got themselves not much to worry about in terms of how far they need to go today. The tyres should hold up and should give themselves enough of what they need. But this is Silverstone, and this is where great racing comes to life. It's a medium tyre. Soft is viable, and they have to start on the same tyres they qualify on. So let's see whether this works. Let's see whether they put each other into play today. There's the green flag, and we are underway. Some good launches then off of the start. Fuller did pretty well. It was a nice launch from Tyen initially, as they'll now make the run towards turn number 1. Front 5, front 6, all making themselves through, but there's a little bit of contact in the middle of the pack as they've gone through the early stages. It's a mad scramble as they go on and get themselves all sorted, a bit of locking up, but it's a nice, patient start at the front of the field, as we expect for some great drives and a bit of side-by-side as Marco Sanfilippo will have to lose out to Alexia Loma as we go through towards the next left-hander here over at Brooklands Corner. So initially, Jay, a sketchy start in the middle to late pack, but ultimately the front, nice and clean.
100%. It's been a decent start, which is great to see. Everyone except for Diogo Oliveira has made it through. He's back in the pits already, unfortunately, but everyone else through. And amazing that we've got through this far so clean. Interesting 2 tyre selection. Everyone in the top 17 on medium, top 18 on medium tyres. Everyone, the only driver not on the medium is Guerrero, who we saw out there in qualifying on the hard.
Absolutely, and you can see with how everyone is trying to set themselves up, they've got to be in range in the opening 3 laps of this race. They will not have the drag reduction system, the DRS, live and active until that 3rd lap available. On board with Tom Volstra, a former champion in the iRacing Grand Prix Series, back in the MP430 era, as he now goes onto the Lewis Hamilton straight and looks to run in towards turn number 1 and charges his way through towards this next section of road. It's the front 6 at this point in time, who look the most likely to make something happen. A little bit of gapping to Adam Gleeson, but he closes it up through the arena section, but struggles to get the power on, actually, coming through. And this is where we're going to see that aggressive serpentine come into play as drivers try and break the toe and break the hold here in the opening couple of laps of this race. With 29 laps, you don't have time to sit and wait. You have got to go, and a lot of dynamos are going to be trying to make those moves early.
Hasn't really been too much shuffling positional wise so far. We saw Nathan Moore into the pits on lap 1. John Pat-Kelly also started from pit lane, so a few drivers out of position there, but amazing how clean this start is. Yaltan looking likely, as well as Tom Volstra, still to get this move done. Volstra very close. Next lap's going to be crucial though. DRS active at the end of this lap. We're going to see some shuffling of position from then on, but isn't it amazing to think that we've got the current generation of Formula One car within iRacing? Incredible to think that's finally happened. I never thought we'd see a current gen car in iRacing.
No, I certainly agree as well. And you talk about how much history and legacy there is in terms of the esports scene as we watch Jorge Martinez and on board with Luke Dowding at this point in time. We talk about a scene, Jay, where you've got the likes of F1 esports, for example, so successful, so fantastic it has been for the galvanization of esports over the last 5 years. And you look at something, say, like this car, as there's almost contact between the two as they round themselves through turn 4 out there on circuit, moving on to the Wellington Straight. The key that has been so very vital to this car coming to iRacing, especially the pandemic, is actually looking at opportunities to say, you know what, we've looked at this scene a lot more in a lot more detail and gone, actually, this is really cool. And getting this opportunity has got a bit of side-by-side here all the way back. This is going to be Reynaldo Augusto and Christoph Montz battling it out then all the way towards Copse Corner. That's the move done then by Reynaldo Augusto, but something so incredible, Jay, to see that partnership blossom and come to life.
Yeah, the pandemic's been amazing for iRacing and that sort of thing. I mean, pre-pandemic, there was a tweet that went out from one of the iRacing staff saying there was likely no chance that we'd see Red Bull Ring or Hungara Ring in iRacing. Fast forward 18 months and we've got both, just due to the pandemic, because there's another move back at Cedric Beale getting through on Christoph Montz, so Montz starting to loosen spots. Go back to the front though, because it is starting to get a little bit tighter. No overtakes within that top group, but amazing what iRacing's been able to achieve due to the pandemic as well. You think Long Beach, we finally got it released because they could actually spend some time to work on it from home. All different sorts of projects that we never ever thought were going to be possible have actually come to life, and not too long we're going to have the next current gen car, the all new Mercedes as well. So it's an exciting time if you're a Formula fan on iRacing, as this is P10 battle for at the moment. Nice tight battle.
Nice tight battle indeed, and that is Radecki Gajegos, who is just holding off Ottorola at this point in time. Those two have switched positions from where they started in this race, and Ottorola with another run here through Copse. He's able to really stay in behind, which is so impressive to see from car number 21, as he looks to try and get this run through Maggots and Beckett's and into Chapel as well. He knows that he's got to be absolutely firing on all cylinders to get the run that he needs to have an attack out there on circuit. It's still not quite there for Ottorola. He'll take the lunge though, down to the inside as late as you can, going through those shades of Mansell versus Piquet there with how late Ottorola left that one.
I thought there was going to be contact there because dove it in there, but yeah, you almost saw the contact between them just behind two. Thomas Simon, Luke Dowding side by side, and Thomas Simon on the inside will get the spot. Nice little move.
It's a very nice little move there, as the Hungarian will get by the driver from Club UK and Ireland. Dowding unable to really get back at it then through then at Village, turn number 3 out there on track, and they run again here as they go through. Do want to pay some attention towards the front of the field though, as the front 3 have looked really strong here in this race. Fuller, Chabi Rose, Marcos Nunez here. It's been one American against 2 Spaniards as they charge forward, and not a million miles away is 4th and 5th positions right now of Halliburton and Tyan. those two drivers know they've got to stay within that 1 second range of Marcos Nunez. Their race depends on it here for the podium and potentially a victory.
And you notice in the background of that Tom Volstra we saw earlier, he was right on the tail of Yaltian, but now he's dropped well off the pace. So that's all but done for that. It's a 1.7 second gap between 5th and 6th. So it's really a top 5 fight for the win at the moment. Remembering too, no pit stops, so there is a little bit of tyre conservation needed as Roller just gets past Marco Sanfilippo. You can tell the Sanfilippo. It's cool to see, even though we're not allowed to use custom liveries, we can still tell a few drivers just based on their default liveries. Very easy to spot that pink of the Sanfilippo's, and also you can tell Martinez very, very easily, running the same colours as his normal livery. So, well done to the guys that have been able to get their livery sort of looking like their team livery, and we'll have some team logos in the overlays for next week as well.
Absolutely. So the Palermo pink then getting itself overtaken, as again you got some great scrapping there. It was Simon and Martinez, you can see just in the foreground as they try and make that run on the Wellington Straight. This is what we talk about here in terms of racing, in terms of DRS trains. If the car in front of you's got DRS and you've got DRS, most likely you're going to be a little bit stuck, and that's where we're finding Tamas Simon at this moment in time, all over the back of the Spaniard, who's trying to deal with all of this, and again, just not a commitment to make it happen at Cops. We're on lap 6, remember, of 29. No need to risk the race just yet, but try and just manufacture a cleaner and I would say a more likely way to go and get an overtake done.
One thing about this race too, of course, being the first week, new car height, always a big chance for points. A little bit of smoke coming out the back of Martinez's car there. Move done for Tamas Simon, but that was nearly contact between Martinez and Simon there. So a nice little move for Tamas to get through. And Martinez drops back to 14th. Tamas Simon, I believe, is the biggest mover in the field.
He certainly is. Started in 25th position. That puts him up 12 spots here in this race, and he is absolutely motoring from not putting a time together on the board in qualifying. Next up will be Danilo Sanfilippo, the other of the Sanfilippo brothers out there on circuit. So he's got a bit of work to do on board from the rear of Danilo, as he will see behind Tamas Simon. Definitely means business today. Definitely wants to move on through. He won't have any DRS, and we'll see how strong it is. Moving to that inside and gets the move done well before they reach the corner turn-in. And that then for Danilo is, I will reluctantly have to give that up.
Ron's passed half the field already. He's passed 13 cars. He's got 11 more to pass to get to the front. Unlikely that he's going to get all 11, but what a drive so far to get so far forward from where he qualified. The end point for what I was trying to say before, new car, huge chance to get big points early on in the championship season, because we may not see this sort of strength of field again for the season. So picking up a really good result in this first round, huge for the championship as a whole.
I certainly agree, and this is why you need to score big, and score big early as the front of the battle. Fuller, Rose, Nunez, Halliburton and Tyan, all there out there on circuit and trying to give as much as they can here in these early exchanges, moving towards those mid exchanges here as we're coming up towards the 1/3 race distance here at this point in time. This is the sort of race where you're going to have to split it up into thirds and just focus. The first third of the race is settling yourself down, getting into a rhythm. Then you do all the work, save the fuel, save the tyres in the middle third of the race, Jay. And it's that final third you would probably say that you need to unlock. If you are in a pack, try and get those overtakes, get to the front of that train and get positioning out there for the end of this one. I'm interested as well in the 6th, 7th, 8th groupers just behind that. Here is a battle going on. That's Marco Sanfilippo then, who will lose out as Radecki Gajegos moves on through up into the top 10.
This is that battle for 6. So we said before, Tom Volstra had just lost that 1 second gap. Without the draft, without the DRS, it's now a 4.5 second gap between 5th and 6th. And he is joined by returning Oleski Aloma. Great to see Aloma back out there, and Adam Gleeson out on track once again for another season as well. So good to see some of these old names we used to see back again, as Aloma, doing as he does best, makes an overtake.
He certainly does. That's as easy as you're going to see it here at Silverstone today. A beautiful pass for Alexia Loma, and Volstra effectively had absolutely nothing to do to gain that one back. Adam Gleeson just behind as well, looking to try and make as many challenges as possible out there, but being patient. And just on the back of that group as well, worth keeping an eye out on, is going to be Matthias Ottarola, who is there in what is 9th position right now. He's got number 21 on the car, and he is the only driver outside the top 20 in terms of iRacing inside the top 10.
But now Sanfilippo's just had an issue. He's lost a heap of ground. He's lost a couple of positions as well. And of course he doesn't have DRS, because I know he does have DRS, but he's still struggling. See if we can work out exactly what happened to him. I think you may have just seen what happened to him.
Yeah, he's just been freight trained, and it's so simple out there through the arena section. Danilo Sanfilippo on the wrong side of things here. He goes, he's just got Luke Dowdy in front, and there might be the slightest hint of contact. You can see a little bit of bending there on that front end plate there by one of the cars that went by and tried to get through, I believe, Dennis Branch for Blue Flag Racing. And just like that, everyone went through, including the hard compound tyre runner Fernando Guerrero, who also managed to find a way by.
Talking about points again for a brief second, I promise I won't bring it up anymore after this, but 326 points up for grabs for a win in this race. So huge opportunity to get big points early on in the season. Sure, we're going to have some big fields throughout the season, but it's unlikely we'll see the type of points we're seeing in this race. It'll be close, but this will more than likely be the biggest point scoring race all season long. So Ben Fuller, at the moment, starting the season great. He's doing just enough to hold off Gross. He's just got enough in the right spots to mean that he can't get through. So it's very close, but just holding off.
Absolutely, Chabi Rose, who has been temperamental at times behind the wheel of machines, has been around a fair bit, but he is a young talent and someone who can always go up there. Marcos Nunez knows what it takes to be very quick, had a pro license for the Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship over the back end of this year, so this is a welcome car that will feel very much the same out there in terms of how much of a great challenge. I also want to note as well that Marco Sanfilippo's lost a position to Tamas Simon, who's now up to 11th, but look at the front five as they try and run forward. Are we going to see a look anywhere in towards that section of road into Stowe? It's not going to happen yet for Chabi Rose, but you get the feeling he's sitting and waiting, that he has had opportunities to get by car number one, the driver to beat, Ben Fuller.
Marquez just loses a spot to Luke Dowding. We're seeing lots of overtaking. The DRS definitely is providing a lot of overtaking. Even with the DRS, I'm very surprised how much overtaking there has been. And how good Guerrero is actually doing with that hard tyre, considering every single other car in the field is on the medium. I'm surprised that the hard tyre is working as well as it is.
Well, I think it's one of those tyres which it's not as, I would say, aggressive compared to others, as Nunez having a little look there in towards Brooklands corner. Not quite there on Chabi Rose. And it's really interesting to see what sort of operating window we find ourselves on. Track temperature today is 26 degrees. It's pretty much as ideal as it gets, and as is also traditional as well here, Jay, as we are around this airfield circuit, it's a bit blustery. 20 Ks coming in from the west.
Geez, that almost seems low for Silverstone, doesn't it? It's usually pretty strong winds at Silverstone, real life and in iRacing, so even at 20 Ks it doesn't seem like it's too bad. Interesting, one thing I noticed was the previous lap, Kane Halliburton almost was out of the draft, almost without that 1 second bracket. He kept it at 9/10 of a second to maintain the DRS. Instantly, he's pushed that extra little bit harder this lap. He's got it back down to 3.5 of a second. So, Kane Halliburton doing a great job of maintaining that important gap of under 1 second. This lead group of 5 have now split that secondary group to 5.5 seconds. So this group at the front here of 5, by far the fastest drivers out there on track. ZL10 thinks about having a little look there.
Yep, he certainly does. And if he can find it, he's got a chance. And Tamas Simon, by the way, has just moved up inside the top 10 on that last lap. He's through on Radecki Grzegorz there, so he's got another position. And it was exactly a lap ago. He got it done into Brooklands, getting the pass done. And here's a look down the inside, just in front. That's going to be Adam Gleeson trying to get the pass done on Tom Volstra. Can't quite get it angled up. And he's going to go all the way around with the power on the exit. That is what you love about Silverstone racing, is the fact that you can take different lines on a very, very flat surface and still get the moves done.
What a move around the outside. It was incredible, the overtake there. So well done by Adam Gleeson. The best pass we've seen so far in this series. We're going to see some incredible overtakes just by the way that this car's behaving and the amount of grip these guys have. There's going to be lots of really cool overtakes we're going to see over the next 12 weeks of racing. Cannot wait for some of the tracks that we've got coming up in this schedule as well. It's going to be very, very cool. And of course, the cool thing is we've finally got a full schedule of just Formula 1 circuits, which not that long ago you would have thought there's no hope that we're going to see that, but incredible that we've got that far in iRacing.
Absolutely, and it's just a testament to the service on how strong and how realistic this place can be, and every place that they scan can be in time. So some nice moves being concocted, and Adam Gleeson now up into 7th position, chasing down Alexei Alomar, but now out on track. The front 5 still there again. Chabi Rose there in 2nd position. You could argue it's probably in the best position of the lot. Is able to see what Ben Fuller can do in terms of times. Just sit back, give himself as much opportunity as possible to study and learn. And you can see there a shallow line going through Woodcote Corner there from Ben Fuller. Slow to get back to what you'd naturally call the traditional racing line, to get in towards Copse Corner, where you try and maximise as much of the track as possible. You take a look through Maggots and Beckett's here, this right-hander, Chapel the left from Ben Fuller. This is his only defence when it comes to the very, very fabled Hanger Straight, is the fact that he's got those very fast lefts and rights, Jay, where he can use the effect of the dirty air to make sure that Chabi Rose drops a couple tenths of a second.
He sort of stretches it out to 0.6 of a second by the time the DRS is active, and that's just too far back for anyone else to close up, to even get close to potentially making a move, let alone actually getting it done. So we've said time and time again that DRS isn't there to give you the move, it's to just present an opportunity to be able to make a move. And it's not even doing that for the guys behind Ben Fuller, because he is doing just enough at the exact right spots each and every lap to make sure he holds onto the spot. Interesting.
I
was just going to say, interesting lap time wise, Aloma is half a second slower than this whole pack, so he's not catching at all. And Yalten is in a very, very good spot. He has been conserving tyres, but maybe not so much now.
That is called using every inch of the track. Tyan gets on the radio to Kane Halliburton. What was that for, Mr. Racecraft Engineering driver? He gets a little tap, and just like that, Halliburton holds on, and the Londoner survives to tell the tale for another day. This is the fine margins that we see in a race like this, that drivers are willing to protect their position, and they're very fortunate with the way that they drove that. Car 7 was able to still maintain a gap to car number 2, Marcos Nunez.
Incredible battle this has been, but yeah, that gap's stretched out a little bit. Yeah, I just noticed too in the text chat, just to double check that Halliburton, even if he didn't have his ears on, that he can see. A couple of question marks being just messaged through as well. So I love the passive aggressive way that he's sort of said, "What are you doing there?" Showing how much each and every position means for these guys. What a battle we've seen with this top 5 too. They've been so good, but right on cue, back in the field, something not so good has happened.
And that won't be ideal in the slightest. Let's take you to the Virtual Racing School replay. Massive thanks to the Virtual Racing School who sponsor us here with SimSpeed TV. And you can see it is Mitchell Ian Green going through, then in through the right, heading towards the Vale. They're swapping across, Guerrero just in front, and then going through this section. Oh, a very heavy hit. And one thing about this car, it is on the new damaged model, and if you do get a hit, that's Alessandro Dalladonna, who is caught out in that hit. is if you do take a big whack of the car, it is very much a write-off, Jay. It's not the sort of car where you get damage, you can drive it back to the pits, a la Michael Schumacher, 1998 Belgium.
100%. Love that it's on the new damage model. Oh, change for the lead. Xavi Rose is just throwing up the inside. But is it done? No.
And Ben Fuller's got a chance here. In through the Vale, Rose has had enough time waiting. He gets it all over the curb, and Fuller will have the power on the outside then of the Vale, and he'll maintain the race lead. First strike, first real blood we've seen in this race, and that was Xavi Rose having enough and deciding to send from a light year back. He might go again here and towards the arena. Won't quite get there. Nunez taking the alternative as well.
I think he's more worried about Nunez and Halliburton behind. Yaltian's got a great opportunity to get the move done here too. So Tian finally is going to get this spot. It's taken him a long, long time, but he's just been sitting back watching, waiting. He'll be happy to get that move done. And, importantly, still within 0.7 of a second. Didn't cost them any time.
And the key to that was Kane Halliburton actually lifted there, Jay, going through in towards Brooklands Corner. He knew that if he wanted to battle for it, he'd lose the group. And again, that little weave there from the Indiana native, as if this was Indianapolis Motor Speedway and an IR18 Indy car. He's trying to break that toe for Xavi Rose.
Definitely. It's getting interesting at the front. And I'll tell you what.
Oh, mistake. And
now
here will come Marcos Nunez. That's what happens when you start getting aggressive. You miss a line somewhere through that section, and Nunez then will dive down the inside. Rose will try and fight it, but there you go. 1 and 2 are 1 and 2.
I actually think that Ben Fuller might be a little bit more concerned about Nunez behind than Xavi Rose. He saw Rose make one move, was able to hold it off. But Nunez has looked really, really composed. He's looked really ready to potentially get a move done. Hasn't fought it too hard.
Well, Gleason's around.
Adam Gleason around.
Yeah, and that is through the Vale. And he was trying to make a pass actually on Alexia Loma, trying to go around the outside to get that one done. And let's have a little look then, see just how it all went wrong. You can see he's trying to get it done here through Stowe. Aloma, the Finn, trying to get that one held. And he does so well. They fight all the way here through the Vale into Club Corner. And there's no contact. That's just the back end stepping out of line, being a little bit too greedy on the throttle.
Trying to get the power down to make sure he could maintain that side by side, but couldn't quite carry it through. Kane Halliburton trying to come back once again too. So this battle's over. Not over. I was going to say it's over, but it's not over. Interesting too, that move that we saw from Xavi Rose before to try and get through on Ben Fuller happened at the exact halfway point of the race. So it took 14 laps for him to think about making a move. Couldn't get it done. Now he's got to spend another few laps to try and work out how he can get back into second. Back into third. Yeah, because Yaltian's got through while we were watching that replay before.
Absolutely, that was into Brooklands Corner as well. So Xavi Rose from Eyes of Grandeur at the race lead is suddenly thinking about potentially not having a podium at all, and that would be very stern for him not to really get what he needs. But this is a race here for the front five about positioning and trying to position yourself in the best possible place. As Tamash Simon, I do want to point out, has got through now on Ottorola as well, and he's up now into 8th place, and he's got eyes on 7th and 6th. That's Volstra and Aloma just in front.
What a drive to come from 25th, no qualifying time, to put yourself in such a good position. Oh, a little wiggle there. But not only is he been making overtakes, he's been able to get himself into battles, as well as Tom Volstra trying to make the move back, and does. So nice move from Tom Volstra. Leslie Aloma drops back, and Tamash Simon will be thinking, well, you guys are going to change positions. That puts me in a very, very good spot to potentially go through as well. Speaking of going through, Yaltian is right there to potentially pounce on Marcos Nunez.
It's also worth keeping an eye out on how these drivers all will deal with how the tyres are working. You look at some of the times that they've been doing in this race, and the fastest laps, for example, Ben Fuller's fastest lap came on lap 2, 1:27.4. His last lap was a 28.5. That was a full 1.1 seconds slower And it's so interesting to see that these tyres are outweighing what is the fuel in these machines. Of course, you don't have a need to stop. And again, you're seeing that second group start to get close then, as Simon trying to find a way around Volstra is having absolutely none of it. On the rear, of course, Matthias Ottarola.
What a battle these guys are having. And yeah, Ottarola back in there too. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that Ottarola was a long way back from this group and just slowly starting to catch. So Halibut just had a little error there too. He's dropped a little bit of ground from that group ahead. He's still within DRS and draft range. But Ottarola, remember, he was battling with the likes of Luke Dowding and Jorge Martinez not that long ago as well. So he's been putting in some really good laps, doing a very, very good job. And talking about those lap times as well, you were mentioning about the drop-off for Ben Fuller. That drop-off for Yal Tian, nowhere near as severe. He's the fastest car out on track last lap. Well, actually, Chevy Rose was for the fastest, but Tian's best lap at 27.8 and his last lap at 28.3. So he's only half a second slower than his fastest lap. Compare that to Fuller, as you said, 1.1 seconds. I think that's due to Tian. He was 5th in the queue, sitting back, watching, waiting, conserving tyres. I think he's got a little bit more to burn.
Oh, how close do you want to get it? Nunez from very late back was trying to get it done. Fuller's going to have to defend this one here. Through the left and the right then. Through the Vale and into Club Corner. And that is enough to hold for the moment. But Marcos Nunez there. First real sign of aggression here as we cross over the line. We've got 10 laps to go here at the Silverstone circuit here in what is an incredible race in Northamptonshire, England. Going through the arena section once again. I tell you what, Nunez is looking far more aggressive, and Tyan as well is very much there. Can the Norwegian manage to get himself, I would say, a checkmating style performance like Magnus Carlsen? Look at them, they're all over each other here. Look at Tyan go down the inside. He tries to steal it away, and Nunez almost no room at the end as he goes through Brooklands, and they'll cost each other some space, but Tyan is up into second.
What a move that was, and also just seen a whole heap of overtakes behind these guys as well. We've seen Luke Dowding just run off the circuit. We saw Volstra lose a spot, 2 spots I should say. Emma Simon and Ottarola are both through. So all happening out on track. Still 10 laps to go in this race. There's still plenty of racing to go. We could see 3 or 4 more overtakes for the lead before the end of this one.
Oh, we absolutely could. And for the podium as well, watch out for Chabby Rose, who's going to move straight to the inside and take that one away. So he'll move back up into 3rd position. It swings and roundabouts here at Silverstone as these drivers try and pivot and find the right places to go and make those moves. But the same constant is at the front here, that it is Ben Fuller who has the control, but now he's got someone else to deal with. There is Simon. He's actually just lost the place to Matthias Ottarola, who's gone through on that hanger straight with superior DRS, absolutely rocketing by.
The first time he's lost a position pretty much all race, so incredible that he's had such an amazing race, and sorry that we haven't been able to show some of those overtakes. Yeah, I'll tell you. Talk about the threshold of adhesive load or adhesive limit. That was probably just slightly past that limit. He nearly threw it around, but he's done enough to still maintain pace and not succumb to Xavier Rose behind him.
That's the sort of moment there where you need effectively the gloves of Jerry Rice, which is slathered with stickum, to make sure that you keep that one on the road. He was sliding all about, and this is what you get when you go through a corner like turn 4 out there on track, Jay. It's the sort of corner where you need to wait, especially if you're in the dirty air of the car in front, to put the power down. Tyan couldn't. The car was unbalanced at that point, and as such, he had to be really, really cautious. He'll have the DRS, though, on this straight. Question is, will he go for a move? Will he ever?
Oh, yes.
He'll move to the inside, try and challenge, but Fuller is so good on the brakes around the outside. And again, Tyan can't quite find the angle. He'll try again on the outside, but once more, it's defended back into him, and he's got to find another way to get by.
Ben Fuller's defence has been absolutely brilliant. It's been as good as any I've seen. We know how good a driver he is. We saw that through the Dallara World Championship. But he has just driven beautifully in this race and done absolutely nothing wrong. Just looked absolutely composed, and I think, just as commentator's curse goes, that was his first little mistake there, but it hasn't hurt him at all.
No, it was in the right place really there for Ben Fuller to have that mistake. And another little look, a jink over towards the inside from Tyan. Xabi Rose there sitting in third position was definitely thinking about it, but no real look there, no real opportunity to make the pass for Tyan. He didn't want to send one straight down the inside. He didn't want to worry himself, at least in the early goings, but what a battle for these five. And it's the sort of battle as well that if there are tears for fears, and we certainly hope there isn't, between now and the end, a driver like Kane Halliburton, who's been sat back there in fifth position, the Londoner, could easily find a podium or better if this certainly runs out the way he's hoping.
100%. He's actually looking like he's happy just sitting back watching and waiting, almost like Galtier was doing not that long ago. But we go back to this battle, 6th, 7th, 8th. You notice Tom Volstra, no longer part of the group. He's dropped a long way back and starting to feel a bit of pressure from behind. But this battle here for 6th, 7th, 8th, I get a funny feeling that something's going to happen in this group and it's going to end in tears for one, two, or all three of these guys.
I'll tell you what, watching all of these battles is like watching three simultaneous battles of Tyson Fury. Every time he weaves and bobs is the time that a driver tries to think about a way of making an overtake. They don't necessarily go for the move, but you know that something's going to happen. It's that powder keg that's waiting to go off as, again, Tyan making that run to Brooklands, moving past there on that right-hand side of the circuit, left-hand side of your screen. You can see it in the background now, the BRDC building out there, one of the most legendary organizations of motorsport in the United Kingdom. And as they charge through, they do have that ability now with this new track compared to the 2008 historical scan, Jay, to really run over the curbs over at Woodcote Corner, where in the older scan, that would be a very, very heavy incident point and potentially a slowdown.
Yeah, you had those bollards there that you couldn't get close to. You could probably put half a tyre in and that was about it. One thing I've noticed too, you notice there hasn't been much weaving to try and distract the guy ahead as here comes Tyan, and he's got it done this time.
He does, and that's a good move. And for the first time, Ben Fuller's in the drop, but he's not giving up. He'll have to go the long way around if he wants it, but Yard Tyan will put a lap in the book ahead of Ben Fuller for the first time in this race. As we go to 24 of 29, 6 laps to go at Silverstone, and suddenly, if it wasn't any more, I would say, alert in the present, we've got a race on our hands, and this is where you've got to be aggressive, and this is where you've really got to go and make these moves.
One thing I've noticed with this group, I was about to say, they haven't really done the weave and try and distract in the mirrors because they've all got too much respect for each other. They know how good each and every one of the drivers in this group is. They've actually got a pit stop, surprisingly. Chirikawa's in the pits, which is very shocking to see someone in the pits. But yeah, these guys are all very, very respectful of each other. They all race each other a lot. They've probably raced each other a few times this week already in this car, let alone for today. So it's great to see the respect these guys are showing. Great to see the respect in the secondary group too, because Tamas Simon has just got back through on Oleski Aloma. So Tamas Simon from 25th to 7th position. What a drive.
That's a double overtake, by the way, because Ottarola got the move done as well as they move on. And now look at Xabi Rose all over the back of Ben Fuller here. DRS versus DRS, but straight through will go Xabi Rose. He'll move up to second. Ben Fuller struggling a little bit there on a straight line, unable to really get that one done. Now, it's not necessarily something we've really talked about is the difference that you can have in terms of your setup here. This isn't the fixed setup series, this is the open setup series, so you have that ability to run something different. If you're at the front with higher downforce, normally that's a benefit, but look at Ben Fuller trying to put hay to this as he now tries to get the move done into the arena. Nunez all out of shape, almost takes out Xabi Rose behind. He'll drop to the back of the group as he somehow managed to avoid contact there.
One thing to consider as well, Sperry, we haven't really thought about it, is that Ben Fuller's been at the front of the group the entirety of this race. He's had to push 100% the whole way through. Could he be slightly light on fuel? Could he have put in a number that he's like, yeah, I'm safe? And the battle behind him has forced him to use more fuel than he may have thought. Interesting now too, 9/10 of a second, first to second, almost DRS gone.
Almost, but that is the word, almost. It's not gone yet as they run through. We go on board
Green
then
light on.
with Ben Fuller, and as they go through, you can see on the left-hand side the green light on the dash. That will indicate you've got DRS. 4 lights means the DRS is open and that you can charge along with it here on the hangar straight, and Ben Fuller able to make that happen. Tyan hasn't got everything his own way in the number 3 just yet, but the longer that he can spend at 6-7 tenths of a second, the less that he'll feel like he'll have to worry in the later laps of this race. That is something that he'll be definitely keeping an eye out on here, which is how much of a gap do I have? And he's got the devil's gap over the line, 0.666, the gap as he crosses, but he knows that he's got what he needs at the moment, and he's just got to stay calm out there. Shirakawa retires the car. He is officially out of this race.
Yeah, unfortunate for Shirakawa. 3 DNFs. We saw Oliveira DNF early on due to an incident. We didn't get to cover that one. And we saw Mitchell and Green as well. He had that incident into the final complex with Deladonte. It's ended his race. Deladonte has been able to continue on, which is great to see.
Yep, Alessandro Dalladonna has done very, very well, and he'll be certainly looking for as much as he can. But front 5 still out there, starting to be the gappiest we've seen it really all race long, as they try and set themselves up for as much as they can late. They'll have 3 at the line, and there is Ottorola trying to get back through on Alexia Lomar. So he's lost 2 places here as Matthias right now, but he's trying to work away, try and get through. And one of the keys that we've seen is drivers haven't really been losing too much time in their battles, because we haven't seen too much side by side. And that's the key. You go side by side in these machines, you lose a lot of time. It's a certain Checo Perez, for example, that managed to cost Lewis Hamilton about 5 seconds a lap in battling at Abu Dhabi.
There's no salt there, is there, Sperry?
No, not at all.
Good. I've dealt with a week of salt. I don't need any more salt around that result. Interesting, though. Of course, we just said Motorolla's lost 2 spots. That means Thomas Simon has now passed 19 cars in this race. That's incredible.
Crazy. And that's what you can do when you've got the bit between your teeth. Don't qualify the car and say, well, how far can I go? 1, 2, and 3, as close as you like as they go through Luffield Corner. Chabi Rose on the back of Ben Fuller out, the 5 against the number 1, as they now make that run to Copse Corner. What a contentious corner this proved to be in racing in the 2021 season, as they will now run themselves through towards Maggots the left, through the right, and the left then. The next right is Beckett's Corner, and then the left of Chapel, which leads on to the hangar straight once again. DRS flaps open, and the questions now starting to arise. Where can you find some moves? Where can you find some overtakes? Not going to get there just yet, but they'll have 2 laps to go, and Fuller is just meticulously carving off a little bit of gap each time he goes along. He's just trying to make sure he gets there for the last lap.
Saw Christophe Montz come into the pits. He's decided that his medium tyres were at the point of no return and has jumped on for our first set of softs in this race. So we could see a fastest lap coming from Christophe Montz. Downfall for that is he's now the last runner on track. I don't think we've seen a race in the iRacing Grand Prix Series where nobody that is out on track has gone a lap down either. Incredible to see the pace that everyone in this field has had. It's been great to see every single driver, if it was not the strength of field that we've got, is fast enough to win a race in their own right. It's been such a good battle. Speaking of, we've now got 2 battles in the top 5 because Halliburton and Nunes, they're gone. Out over a second.
They are, and for Kane Halliburton, if he's got no defence to Marcos Nunez here, then he's going to be in a world of hurt late, as we take a look then from the perspective of Kane Halliburton, the racecraft engineering driver, and he's going to be looking at that gap and he's going to be thinking, I wish I had that, and he's going to have nothing really to defend with on this straight, so he's going to be in a world of trouble. Tyan's had a really good lap, and now here comes Chabi Rose. No DRS there for Ben Fuller. He fell outside of a second, and easy as you like, Chabi Rose moves up into second position. So Tyan on that lap, breaking DRS. Ben Fuller, what a time not to have a great lap.
Wow. Incredible that that's happened. I think the tyres are gone for Ben Fuller. White flag in the air. The guys first and second just did 27s. Ben Fuller 28.7. 29.0 for Nunez. So Ben Fuller is doing about the same pace that Alessia Loma and Tamara Simon were doing on the lap previous. It is all over effectively. In saying that, Xavi Rose has got it back to 6/10. He's absolutely on fire. He's probably pushing for a fastest lap on the last lap here.
I think he's pushing for the win. I think he's saved his tyres better than anybody else has. And if he's got himself the range to go out there and do it, he may as well. So has he got enough here to really challenge in the final stages then? You know how good Xavi Rose can be. Tyan as well, so consistent as a driver, has been there many times before, up there fighting for really strong race results. But as they go through Maggots and through the right left that leads to Beckett for the final time in this race, is there one last sting in the tail for car number 5? He's close. He's got about half a second to chase down, but if he is going to do it, it's going to have to be into the Vale and Club Corners, because he's not there as he goes into Stowe. He really rifles it in, trying to find something. Tyan gets that natural extra 10, and Rose trying to send one deep around the outside, try and find any mistake. He's not going to find it here. Jarl Tyan is going to hold on. It'll be a drag race for second. Tyan takes the first win here at SimSpeed TV in the Mercedes W12. Rose just about holds on for second position ahead of Ben Fuller. The top 5 in the end split by 2.3 seconds. And racing still not done, as Aloma looks like he'll just about hold off Ottarola.
What a race that was. Incredible night of racing. And the respect shown between that top 5, incredible. Congratulations to all 5 of those guys, because that was one of the best battles, one of the best races we've seen in this series, in our history of broadcasting it. Ronaldo Augusto not quite close enough to get past Marco Sanfilippo. Great to see the Sanfilippos back out on track. I'm sure they'll find a bit more pace over the next couple of weeks. Christophe Montz out there on those soft compound tyres. When he came out of the pits, he was 5.5 seconds behind John-Pat Kelly. He's now down to 1 second. Actually, he's on mediums. It's showing mediums on the car, but my graphics are showing soft. So we'll see what this lap time is.
Soft.
Yeah. My screen's showing mediums. It's weird.
Weird. Either way, Mons will come across the line. Will be the last finisher. And what a race we've had. And we'll get the fastest lap as well. We'll get a quick lap going through on top of that. And so everyone then is over the line. It is Jarl Tyan who gets it done then. 42 minutes, 49 seconds. He was saying towards the end he was using a lot of the attack trying to get himself over the line. He thought he used it too early, but he did enough. Xavi Rose finishing then in second, and the leader for the majority of that race, Ben Fuller, only able to manage third place then as they got themselves to the final laps of the race. Kane Halliburton finishes 4th ahead of Marcos Nunez in 5th, and a long gap back to Tamas Simon, who started 25th on the grid of 26. Didn't set a time in qualifying, still managed to come away with 6th place on what was an incredible drive. Alessia Loma in 7th position for the number 10, with Matthias Ottarola in 8th. Radecki Grzegorz gets 9th place, and fading very, very strongly towards the end of that race was the number 12 of Tom Volstra, who finished in 10th position, the Dutchman. Then you had Adam Gleeson 11th, ahead of Jorge Martinez in 12th, and Luke Dowding in 13th. Dennis Branch, the American, finishing in 14th, ahead of Cedric Beale in 15th place. Marco Sanfilippo really struggled with how the car reacted today, falling back to 16th in the number 16, with Reynaldo Augusto, Fernando Guerrero on the hard compound, and Danilo Sanfilippo for the number 19, Alessandro Dall'Adonna, there rounding out the top 20, 48 seconds adrift after his contact. Nathan Moore, John-Pat Kelly, and Christophe Montz, the last finishers in this race. And then the drivers who did not manage to make their way towards the checkered flag, Yuki Shirakawa, Mitchell Ian Green, and on the opening lap, Diogo Oliveira, going around the former Pro Stripe for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, now about 4 years ago. But what a track we turn to next here in terms of the calendar, round 2, and it's the road to Liège-Bastogne-Liège again, the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, one of my favourite circuits in terms of all-around racing. Jay, if there's any track that just does it in any circumstances, come rain, come shine, come any car, it's this one.
How cool is it? We were only here a few weeks ago to wrap up the last season. We're back once again, and I'm not upset in the slightest to be back. 21 laps next week. It's going to be absolutely perfect conditions for racing once again. Cannot wait. And of course, special time next week. We're not going to broadcast at this time next week because, of course, that'll be Christmas Day in Europe and America and Boxing Day here in Australia. So we'll broadcast Monday morning Australian time, Sunday night UK, Sunday afternoon American.
Absolutely. Make sure you keep yourselves alert for that. Boxing Day is the time and place for us here with SimSpeed TV. You definitely want to jump in as part of the festive spirit here with us at SimSpeed TV to bring you all of what you want. But a massive thanks has to go to everyone who gets it done here with us, the iRacing Open Wheel community who bring us these broadcasts then on a Saturday or what is going to be a Sunday next week. So an extra day to wait for iGPS, as well as, of course, the Virtual Racing School, title sponsors of replays here over the course of this year. And it'll be interesting to see what we do for next year. But from Jay Kennedy, myself, Jake Sperry, what were you expecting? This was always going to be a spectacle. This was an incredible race, and it showed that 5 of the very finest were up there at the front of the field and were able to showcase that they were some of the quickest drivers out there in iRacing when it comes to open wheel. If it's going to stay like this all season, my goodness, are we in for a championship shout as we get ourselves ready for round 2 to Spa as we get ourselves looking. We'll see you next time out then as we find ourselves in Belgium.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.